How's it going, everybody? Welcome to General Hospital Envy, my GH After Show. Let's get into it. Last week I talked about this past Monday's episode because we got that episode last Tuesday in Canada. But just to recap, it was the start of Sunny's funeral, and it was kind of boring. Something that I didn't mention last week because I knew I'd talk about it more this week is that when the Davis girls were getting ready for the funeral, Alexis snuck a drink in from her secret stash, and Molly walked back into the house to catch her, and Alexis actually owned up to it, and she decided to stay home from the funeral, and Molly stayed behind to look after her as well. Alexis is still a hot mess, but at least she is being honest about it and she's not hiding it from the girls. I guess that's growth, right? As an audience member though, I kind of wish she did attend the funeral because it would have brightened it up a little bit. I mean, Olivia was rearing for a fight against Alexis and was pretty bummed herself that she didn't show up. The funeral itself was exactly what you'd think it would be. It's everyone talking about how great of a man Sunny was. Thankfully, to liven things up, Nina overheard a conversation between Carly and Jax about the night that Nell died, and they were very detailed about it. I don't think there was a more detailed conversation about that night than that conversation at the funeral home. Then when Carly and all of Sunny's loved ones went to the gravesite to bury yet another empty casket next to Morgan's empty casket, Nina shows up to confront Jax and Carly. The Corinthos clan, who clearly knew that things were about to go down, managed to usher out all the potential witnesses from this conversation before Nina went in on Carly and Jax. Listen, I don't really have a dog in this fight. Carly and Nina tend to live in their own realities a lot of the time, and they both have people lined up to enable their actions. So, to me, the arguing kind of felt like noise. But I am curious, what team are you on personally? Let me know in the comments below. Are you Team Carly or are you Team Nina? Nina, of course, went running straight to Jordan to let her know that she believes that Carly pushed Nell off that cliff despite hearing in great details exactly what went down that night, while they were unaware that she was listening, by the way. And if that wasn't enough, she also went running to Valentine and said, "How do we take down Carly together?" I bet Valentine got one hell of a boner out of that. Yay, Nina has use for me again. You sad, man. By the way, while that funeral was going down, Sunny was busy falling asleep tending bar and dreaming about Carly, although he didn't see her face. But you know, it was at least a memory of sorts, I guess. Now, as for the rest of the week for our good pal Mikey, he is accused of every petty crime happening in that town by the police, who, by the way, lifted his fingerprints, and he didn't make it clear whether or not they actually figured out who Sunny was. But to be honest, I feel like, and this is just my theory, this police officer is actually the one committing these crimes, and he's doing his best to frame Mike over it. I guess the fact that Sunny has no memory makes him an easy target for something like this, but I just find it ironic that Sunny, without his memory, is a stand-up citizen. Mike is a stand-up bartender who is kind enough to drive a drunk person back to their motel, but forget to lock up, and then the Tano itself gets broken into and robbed. Poor guy can't catch a break. Can we just bring him back to Port Charles now? Let's rewind things back to the day of the funeral. One person that wasn't in attendance was Laura. She ran into Cyrus at the hospital and he was fully intending on being an asshole and showing up to the funeral, and the only way that he wouldn't is if she agreed to have coffee with him. Of course, he plays the whole game of trying to convince Laura that he and her are exactly alike, and she obviously doesn't buy into it because she's not stupid. No disrespect here, but y'all are old and gray at this point. You missed the sibling bonding train years ago. Your tickets expired. Martin was the exception because he didn't blow up his sister's daughter. Let it go, man. She is your enemy. She has no desire to be your sister whatsoever, and DNA doesn't mean a damn thing. She never even met your father. Speaking of Martin, he and Jackie met up at the Port Charles Grill to discuss the fact that she has a lead on his mother's whereabouts. She tells him about Bobby, but then of course Cyrus walks in and interrupts the conversation and reassures them that he's got it covered and he has a source that is very motivated to track his mother down, and we'll get into that in a bit. Side note here, I have to nerd out for a minute. I love the Port Charles Grill, mostly because I am so sick of people eating at the Metro Court. It has never made sense to me that the locals of Port Charles go to a hotel for dinner all the time. Although, the Port Charles Grill actually used to be inside the Port Charles Hotel back in the day. I'm pretty sure that this is not connected to the Metro Court. I better not find out that the Port Charles Grill is actually attached to the Metro Court, otherwise I'm gonna be so pissed. There's already a restaurant there. Alright, back on topic. So Cyrus's source is Brando, and of course, he threatens Brando to track down his mother, otherwise he will fire him and probably kill him. So Brando goes over to Jason and says that Cyrus is desperate, and you know what Jason does? Jason shoots Brando. What the hell, man? I mean, I get it, but holy cow, that's so extra. Jason obviously knows that if he puts Brando out of commission, that gives Brando an excuse to have a reason to not find his mother. So, good job, Jason. Poor Brando. Now, Cyrus has other things in play currently. He is preparing to release that drug that is very addicting, that can make the hospital a lot of money. They have a little bit of a hospital board meeting, and Britt is there, but she can't really say much without blowing her cover. Portia is also there, and she stands up against him, and then my girl Leslie Weber shows up to go against him as well. Sadly, it's not looking so well because the hospital is all about the money, and Leslie decides to go to Monica for help. You know shit is serious when Leslie and Monica are teaming up. I am totally here for GH royalty taking down a mobster, I'm just saying. Meanwhile, Britt does warn Jason that Cyrus is about to unleash that drug in the hospital, and she was going to show him her research that she's done that proves that the drug is addicting, but then all her files were deleted off of her computer. So clearly Cyrus is aware that Britt is aware that that drug is addicting. Britt is obviously terrified, and to make matters worse, she is still having her hand trembling like crazy, and she makes herself an appointment. She's crying while on the phone with the doctor. My heart is breaking for Britt Westbourne, you guys. I never thought, given Britt's origins on the show, that I would one day be feeling sorry for her and rooting for her as a character. Like, my mind is actually blown. I used to hate Britt Westbourne with a passion. I was kind of Team Sabrina all the way. I mean, I was Team Robin more so. But you know, between Britt and Sabrina, come on. Obviously, Sabrina was a better person than Britt back then. Britt was a witch back then. Britt was the britch back then. I mean, come on, man. Not the writers making me adore this woman. Please don't let her die. Okay, now I want to talk about the Valentine's Day episode, and I have a lot of complaints about it, none of which have to do with the fact that it's like a week late. I can forgive that. The impeachment was happening. It is what it is. The episode itself had me asking a lot of questions. Let's get into it. So when I watched the Valentine's Day episode, my mind was so confused. It's like I felt like I missed a bunch of episodes somewhere in the middle, because all of a sudden Chase and Willow are back as a couple and they're going out for Valentine's Day, and so are Michael and Sasha. I'm like, wait, y'all were just talking about how you were going to take things slow and you weren't really sure where things were going, and now y'all are going on Valentine's dates? What? Willow and Chase went to the Port Charles Grill to have their Valentine's Day, and all Willow could do was talk the entire time about Michael. Y'all, I did not pray for Chillo to come back, for Willow to do nothing but talk about how great Michael is the entire time. If that is the route you are going to go on, just put Willow back with Michael and have them usher off screen into the gatehouse of the Quartermain Mansion and just be done with it. Take Wiley with you. As for Michael and Sasha, they barely got out of the door of the house before Carly called Michael to inform him that Brando was shot, as if Brando and Michael have any kind of a relationship. You know what that was? Lazy writing in order to get Sasha into Brando's hospital room. We know that the route that they're going on is Sasha and Brando. They're far more interesting than Sasha and Michael. The only reason why I was down for Michael and Sasha to get back together is because I wanted Chillo, but if they're going to have Willow talk endlessly about Michael, then I'm not here for it. Just put me out of my misery, okay? Now that is not the only reason why this Valentine's Day episode had me confused. On top of all of that, Molly and TJ are now getting ready for their commitment ceremony. The last time we saw them, did they not talk about how they were going to take things slow? Now all of a sudden they're actually having it? What happened in the middle to get to this point? No one's even there for it. Aunt Stella isn't in town. Curtis is on a PI mission, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Alexis is too drunk to deal with anything, and Sam was too busy taking care of Alexis. And TJ wasn't even there himself either, because he was running late because of work, and then of course he can't get a ride share because it's Valentine's Day. That's when he runs into Jordan and the hospital. And by the way, I forgot to mention this, Brianna Henry is now playing her again. She's back. And she offers to drive him to wherever Molly is. Now the situation is, the office where they're going to have the commitment ceremony is about to close. Christina comes in, and she was actually there for the ceremony, by the way. She tries to bribe the woman into staying open longer so that they can have the commitment ceremony. Just passes her a few dollar bills. Will that be enough? I guess we'll find out. Y'all, I honestly don't know how to feel about it. And you guys know that I love Molly and TJ, but I'm mad that we didn't get like a slow burn back to a good place. I mean, yes, we saw them have a shower scene and it was very romantic, but even then they were talking about taking things slow. So I want to see the story beats happening on screen. I don't want to be confused when I see them one moment talking about one thing and then suddenly it's like we missed like half the story. Now those were my biggest pet peeves about the Valentine's episode. The rest of it I actually enjoyed. Let's talk about Curtis and Portia. Now Curtis at the beginning of the week actually went to Jordan and said that he wants a separation from her. Not a divorce, just a separation so that they can both clear their heads and be their own people and figure themselves out and then get back together stronger and better. But he goes to Portia and invites her to do a PI mission with him on Valentine's Day. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't hate it. I think that they're cute together. They went undercover together at a nightclub as a couple because Curtis's client was thinking that his wife, who works there, was cheating on him with the owner of the bar. Portia was having a blast doing this. I mean, she has so much stress in her life right now between Cyrus and Taggart and, you know, her own daughter Trina, trying to figure out her relationship with her father. It's not so fun for her. So this was fun for her. She didn't want to leave. Now, having said that, as cute as I think that they are, I have to remind myself that I'm pretty sure that Trina is actually Curtis's daughter, and if that is the case, he ain't ever gonna trust her or any woman again. Now, also featured in the Valentine's episode was Nicholas and Ava and Franco and Elizabeth, and they both had drama at the Port Charles Grill. First, Nicholas and Ava were enjoying themselves, and a gift comes out for Ava, which Nicholas thinks is from him, but when she opens it, it's a cockroach in a jar. Come out, Ryan Chamberlain, we know it's you. I remember you smiled when you were carried out of the hospital in a coma. Now, as for Franco and Elizabeth, when they showed up, a couple actually pretty much ran out without paying the bill because they were terrified of Franco. And then Franco didn't feel well because of the radiation that he experienced, and then his hair started falling out, so it wasn't a happy Valentine's Day for them. The only couple that seemed to have actual fun on Valentine's Day weren't even an actual couple. It was Britt and Brad, and y'all know I love their friendship so much. I was so happy to see Brad and Britt hanging out again. Basically, Britt snuck him out of jail by saying that he needs a checkup, and pretty much sent most of the hospital staff home on that floor so that they could hang out together and chat. They just hang out in a hospital room and eat chocolates and catch up, and then Brad does notice that Britt's hand is shaking violently, but she manages to sweep it under the rug. Brad, of course, also had questions about Lucas, and Britt dodged those questions too, but later he actually notices Lucas and Felix getting ready to go out for a drink together. Of course, they're actually going out for drinks as friends so that they don't have to think about Valentine's Day, but Brad doesn't see that. Meanwhile, Britt is about to go on her rounds to deliver candies to the sick kids in the hospital and runs into Jason and recruits him to go with her. So now it's actually like they're showing signs that they might put Britt and Jason together. Again, I don't really see it. They're so opposite. I just don't see them working out in a way that makes sense. I feel like even Dante and Sam make more sense. Now, Sam and Dante weren't featured on the Valentine's Day episode, but earlier in the week we did see Dante and Sam sharing a drink at the Quartermaine Mansion and talking about the whole new Sam that she is hoping to experience soon. I mean, y'all know I love J-Sam, right? But at the same time, I thoroughly enjoyed the first time Sam was brought out of Jason's world when she broke up with him and ended up with Lucky. She really came into herself during those years. I mean, she was more adventurous, she started her own PI business, she was pretty badass, and she and Lucky were having a lot of fun adventures together. I loved Sam during those years. So I'm hoping that they kind of go that route with her again. I guess time will tell. I mean, to be fair, these writers have proven that they can write a character really well when they want to invest in them. That's how Britt went from being hated to absolutely adored by myself, because they really flesh out her character, and I hope that Sam gets the same treatment. Now, the only other thing to note that happened this week was that the teen scene discovered that Cameron got accepted into Stanford University, I think it was. And of course, he is iffy about going because he wants to be there for his family. He doesn't want to leave his friends behind, but of course, Jocelyn and Trina do try to convince him that he should go. Will he? Probably not, because I don't think Cameron is leaving the show anytime soon, but I guess time will tell. His daddy is on the way back to the show in some kind of capacity, so whatever happens next, I'm sure that'll have something to do with it. Anyway, that wraps up the show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like this video, give it a big old thumbs up, subscribe if you want to, and I will catch you guys this Wednesday for another GHMV Reacts. Peace out. Congratulations.